Hey everybody, welcome back. Here's my question for you. Do you believe that you are fully rational? I want you to answer that question now, and then I want you to listen to this podcast. And we're going to ask you that question one last time at the end of this. My name is Bryan Foltice, and welcome to the Bryan Foltice Behavioral Finance Podcast. I'm an associate professor of finance at Butler University in Indianapolis, Indiana, and my passion is to help you make better financial decisions. I am here to teach you in the area of behavioral finance. This is my main area of research and my favorite class to teach. And this podcast is not affiliated with Butler, or my ridiculous stories are all mine. Today, we are going to have our introductory lecture. This is setting the background for behavioral finance and taking us from the classical way of capturing happiness and bringing it into the area of this behavioral finance. So, today we are going to jump straight into the content. Last episode, we spent time getting to know each other and telling you all a little bit about my background and how we got to behavioral finance. And today, I'm excited because we're going to jump straight into the materials. So behavioral finance, what is it? It is essentially the psychology of money and some of the inefficiencies of our behaviors and markets. So we're going to defer the conversation of efficient markets to later. Today comes around a little bit more of theoretical background on how we got to studying behavioral finance in its origin. So laying the background. Now I'm going to warn you, there's a little bit of math involved. And behavioral finance, I know some of my students sign up and they say, you thought there'd be no math. I was like, I know there generally is not a lot of math in behavioral. However, this is a very important, we have to set it up and we have to quantify the points here that we're trying to make. So there'll be a little bit of math involved. I will not drag you into the trenches too deeply, though I promise you we will all be just fine at the back end. So I am enjoying our cloudy day here in Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm in my home office. The semester ended last week, the spring semester ended last week, and now I am teaching a 5-week corporate finance online class. So I'm just the man behind the screen, and all I hope is that technology is my friend instead of my worst enemy. I need to have more good technology days than bad in order for this to work. However, most of the content is online. I'm here to support my students in the background. So hopefully I won't be too taxing on me. You won't see me age here over the next 5 weeks, but rather start to feel refreshed and be able to get outside as the weather finally warms up here in Indianapolis. And now I get to sit and talk about my favorite topic. So I've got the video rolling so you can see my, I'm not going to call it a pretty face. I'm just going to say it's my 42-year-old doing the best I can face. Those of you listening on podcast, welcome. I'll do my best to explain it, but I know I've got my whiteboards handy because there's going to be some math, and we're going to now hop right into this. All right, so let's go all the way to the beginning here. Neoclassical economics. They believe they have some in their models and the way that we analyze utility or happiness. They have some assumptions that are built into their models. Okay, so one of the main beliefs or the main assumptions here for neoclassical economics believes that all participants, so all individuals, are what we called homo economicus. They believe that all participants are homo economicus. Homo economicus assume three things. All right, first, these individuals, all individuals, act fully rational at all times. We act fully rational at all times. So usually if I'm teaching this class, I say, hey, who believes that they are fully rational? And if I wasn't teaching this course, and if I wasn't in this area, I go, yeah, that's me. I'm kind of stupid sometimes, but fully rational in general. We'll hang on to that for just a minute. Number two, they expect that we always we maximize utility, and firms maximize profits at all times. So all of us, we maximize our utility. What's utility? Think about it this way. It's happiness. So we maximize our overall well-being and our happiness at all times. So we're going to learn later on what that means is we're also completely selfish. There is no altruism whatsoever. We are just in it for ourselves. We're fully selfish because if you're not doing anything for me, then I'm maximizing my own utility. I'm doing that does nothing. Helping you does nothing for me. So as we're going to remember that too. But we're always going to try to maximize our utility, maximize our happiness at all times. And in most cases, that does make a lot of sense. And then firms are going to maximize their profits at all times. Number three, we make decisions based on all relevant information. All individuals make all their decisions based on all relevant information. Okay, classical finance. So our area here in behavioral is not to demean or to deconstruct what's already happened in classical finance, but we definitely have a lot of questions. And that's how I approach this class. We're not forsaking the capital asset pricing models, Fama French three-factor models that we build our asset pricing off of, our Carhart four-factor, five-factor models now. We're not disregarding that. We're just asking some questions. So, okay, if all decisions are based on all relevant information, the people buying GameStop, at $200, they're baking in all publicly known information, past, present, and future. They know all the financials. They know all the information about the company. What do you have to say about that? So we have a lot of questions to ask about it. Nevertheless, let's go to square one. We say, what is utility and how do we calculate this? So we already said utility is synonymous with happiness. Well, let's just think about it this way. I'm going to get out my whiteboard here. We've got two options. One is a 50-50, essentially a coin flip. Okay, so 50%, it's a fair coin. 50% chance you will win $100, and a 50% chance you would lose and you would stay at zero. We have option B is just take a guaranteed $60. So I scrubbed this out here, and you can see we've got our coin flip and our risk-free. So one you see is certain, one is uncertain. Now, if we're looking at what we call expected value, EV, this is how we teach a lot of our corporate finance, investments, even to a certain point, my international finance. We always go, what's the expected value of portfolio? And what you do is you just multiply the percentage times the outcome, and you add them all up. So 50% times 100 equals 50. 50% times 0 equals 0. We add it up. Expected value is $50. Expected value of 100%, $60, 100% is $60. And we're utility maximizers. 60 is greater than 50. We're going to stick with the 100% 60. So that's pretty easy, right? That we should be done. We're done with this course, right? So maximizing utility, that's all there is to it. But what we have now is we found there's some, it doesn't always work like this. In fact, there's some violations of our expected value calculations. All right, so let's play a game in order to outline what a violation could be here. This game starts out with, let's make a deal. Let's make a deal. You have the option to play this game, play the game that I'm going to propose to you, or walk away with a guaranteed $10,000 payout. 100% walk away with $10,000 or play this game. This game is heads or tails. I've got a fair coin here. There's nothing great or bad about my coin flipping skills. It's simply a 50-50 draw. And if you want, we could have a third party when my fiance comes home or when my kids come home. They can flip for us. But anyway, I have a fair coin. The game is, if we're going to start at $2. So I'm going to flip the coin. If it lands tails, anytime the game ends at tails, the game is over. So if we just flip a coin and it goes straight to tails, $2 is your payout, and we're done. However, if it goes to heads, each time heads is flipped, your amount doubles. Right? So if I flip a heads, it goes to 4. If I flip another heads, it goes to 8. Another 16. But then if it goes to tails, 16 is your payout. So what I'd like you to do is think neoclassical economics. You are the Homo economicus individual. So I'm picking on you now because some of you raised your hands saying you were fully rational. You are fully rational utility maximizers. You're going to take the highest expected value for this game that I'm proposing. And let it be known, I will play this game until a head or until a tails is drawn. I will play it. I'll play it. So I want you to think about what the expected utility is, or the expected value for this game. Otherwise, you've got a 100% chance of just getting that $10,000 and walking away from this game. All right, so take a minute to think about it. And I want you to think, okay, what does my instinct say? And then what does the Homo economicus say? Now, whenever I ask my students, I say, what does your instinct say? And they say, $10,000, I'm taking the money. I say, okay, me too. I say, what does Homo economicus say? And a lot of them go, I'm taking the money, taking the 10. I say, no, wait a minute. You haven't done the math yet. Let's do the math. Imagine I flip a coin and it lands tails. What's the probability of that? 50%. There's nothing magic about it. It's a 50% chance tails will be flipped straight away. In that case, we've got a $2 payout. All right. I got this scrubbed out here. $2 payout. There's a 50% chance it goes straight to tails. Expected value of that, 50% times $2 equals $1. Next, what's the probability that I do tails? I do a heads and then a tails. So there's a 50% chance you'll get a heads, but then after that, another 50%. So 50% times 50%, it's a fourth, 25%. However, there's a 25% chance you'll get $4. 20% or 25% times 4 equals $1. And now we've got scenario 2 written out. So 75% of the time, here are the scenarios. 1/8 of the time, so 12.5% of the time, you'll get a payout of 8. That's 2 heads in a row. And 1 tail, $8. There's a 1/16 chance you'll get $16. $1. Does anybody see a trend now? Well, you say, oh, I'm at expected value of 4. That's not 10. So no. I said I'd play this forever until essentially infinity. So that means if you were Homo economicus, you would calculate all the way and you would get a sideways snowman. That's the symbol for infinity. And then if that's the case, infinity is always greater than $10,000. You'll play the game by a landslide if you were Homo economicus. Where are you going with this, Foltice? Wrap this up. Where are you going with? Well, if you were fully rational, thinking this way, you would play the game. But now, think about this rationally. Or not rationally, just think it through here. How many times would I need to flip heads before you would actually come out on top of over 10,000? Let's walk through it, okay? I'll do it with my fingers. So 1 head is 4, 2 is 8, 3 is 16, 32, 64, 128, 256. I'm at 7 now. 512 is 8. 1,024 is 9. 2,048 is 10. And 11 is 4,096. 12 is 8,192. I don't know where we're at. Wait, 82. 12. And then finally at the 13th head, you will go above $10,000. So if you were really going to sit down and have this legitimate offer, we're taking $10,000 all day long. So maximizing utility from an expected value standpoint doesn't always make sense. This is what we call the St. Petersburg paradox. This was done, I didn't make this up, this was done back in the 1700s. But what our key takeaway from this is that not all additional dollars are created equal. So if they were, then infinity is greater than 10,000. But let's think about this. We were already thinking about break even, what's our win and losses, what's the problem. Not all dollars are created equal. Imagine taking one of my college students and I give them, I write them a check, $50,000. Here's a check. No problem. $50,000. What do you think that does for their happiness, their utility? Oh, presumably that could change quite a bit for them. That could change a lot of things in their lives for the better. Imagine their happiness, what that relieves them from. Now imagine so they're essentially going, if they start with zero to $50,000. That level of happiness is going to be very high. Now imagine I catch up with Elon Musk or Warren Buffett, and I say, hey, look, I'm going to do you a big favor. I'm going to write you a check for $10,000 or $50,000. And their level of happiness, I'm sure they wouldn't reject it. What they would be able to do with it, the additional happiness that $50,000 would give would be very, very marginal, I'd be willing to imagine. And so not all dollars are created equal. That's why we needed to pay attention to what we called expected utility. So expected utility is a function that we'll get into. It's essentially, I'll show you a picture. Sorry, people, if you're listening to the podcast, but just imagine the graph that goes pretty steep when the first wealth is hit, and then begins to flatten out as we go from 0 to 100,000 or 100,000 to 1 million. It's still a pretty fun chart, but then we go from 1 million to 2 million. We go, oh, that's pretty good. and then 2 million to 3 million. And this starts to not become totally flat, but it does flatten out. It becomes a little more marginal. Now, the way that we would actually compute utility is what I use in my class is what we call the natural logarithm. So essentially comes up with this chart, and I'm just using on my BA2 calculator the button right next to the 7. It's ln. But if we're using this utility function, we're going to say, have anybody heard of deal or no deal? Deal or no deal, where you have 2 briefcases left in this scenario, and you have, let's see, 2 briefcases. And on the board, we have $1,000 and $200,000 on the board. The bank calls up, and the bank offer is $50,000. Now, a couple of things to lay out here. Can we please all assume that this is truly 50-50? Some of the contestants on Deal or No Deal believe that, well, my dead grandma wore a size 13, and so I got the suitcase number 13 has $200,000 with a higher probability. This is random. Hopefully we're all there, that we can assume that this is a 50% chance of each of these outcomes. The bank offer is 100%. If we were to come up with the expected value here, just walk with me through these numbers. If I take 50% of 200,000, I'm already at 100,000. Expected value would be 100,500, which is more than double the bank offer. So if I didn't care about risk or certainty, expected value, I'm going here. But now I'm going expected utility. Expected utility is what I want to come up with. And my function of utility is this natural logarithm of my wealth multiplied by the probability. So if I scrub out those numbers, natural logarithm of 1,000 times 50% equals 3.45. The natural logarithm of 200,000 times 50% equals 6.10. And I'll add that up together. My expected utility for option A is 9.55. And I'm rounding here using some basic numbers. Now, the natural logarithm of 50,000 is actually 10.82. And all we're trying to do when we're calculating expected utility, we use our function, and then we come up with the greatest number. So we're still utility maximizers. And here we're going to take the bank offer, $50,000, which doesn't that now align a little bit more with real decision making? If I was actually a contestant on Deal or No Deal and I had this scenario, I'm walking away with $50,000, even though I know the expected value is more than double, because I know what $50,000 would at least do for my life. So this is an improvement to better decision making, but now behavioral finance has found a number of violations with this. So the first one I will outline here with my favorite part, and this is offering my class the chance to do a coin flip with real money involved. Now, the way I usually set this up, I get them all excited. Say, look, I've got an idea for you. We've come all this way. We're going to do a coin flip. Option A. If you win the coin flip, you can choose somebody to flip the coin that's a neutral third party. I encourage you to do it. I will give you $101. 50% chance you win $101. However, if you lose, you pay me $100. You lose $100. Option B, don't do anything at all, just watch. So if we're doing the math around that, there's a 100% chance 0. You won't win anything, you won't lose anything. All right, so here's our scenario. And I've got it here. In fact, when you are from Indianapolis, and here you go. When you're from Indianapolis and are a Colts fan, you went to training camp and was standing down by the field at their training camp, and a little golf cart came a man, well-dressed man in a suit, nice suit, and was smiling and waving, and I finally connected it. I was like, oh, I think that's the owner. It's like Ursay, and I think his name is Jim. And he came, he's like, hi, everybody. And it's like, hi, Jim Ursay. Well, he had 2 people going on either side of him. And they were saying, $100 from Jim Ursay, $100 from Jim Ursay. I'm like, what? And typically if somebody's pushing something, I would go, no, I don't want it. In this case, I was intrigued. I was like, let's see what you have. And they were truly giving out $100 bills with his autograph on it. So I guess that's actually a thing, believe it or not. But now I get to use this in my exercises for my lectures. And so anyway, I've got the money, and I tell my students, hey, you can Venmo me, PayPal, whatever way you want to. I always say, hey, look, I'm not married anymore, so usually my wife didn't like to do me doing this, but now I can do a number of different coin flips. So just let me know who wants to do it. And I went maybe 6 years. Nobody took me up on it. Any of my classes. What I've noticed, though, gambling, sports gambling, has become legal in Indiana over the last couple of years. So now students are starting to take me up on it. Now, of course, I never do it, but I like to set it up. I'm not even married anymore, so I don't even need to sign off on anything. But I've only had a handful of students in my 8 years actually raise their hand and take me up on this. And I tell them, I said, guys, did we not just learn about expected value? Well, clearly, if 101 times 50% is 50.5, this is negative 50. So 0.5 is the expected value, which is greater than 0. Even if we used a natural logarithm function, you would still be better off taking A. Why didn't you want to do it? Well, this gets us to our first violation of expected utility. And this is what we call loss aversion. So if we really think about, why didn't we take this particular coin flip? Well, I know why I'm not taking this coin flip. And even if somebody wanted me to, I back out of it. I'm not going to do it. And it's because if I lost $100, that is going to hurt emotionally, psychologically, way more than ever gaining $101 on a coin flip. And so what we call this is loss aversion. And the definition of loss aversion, we like to say losses loom larger than gains. Losses are felt more than gains. That's what we said. Losing $100 would hurt more than gaining $101. So then my next question is, at what point would you be willing to take this bet? Everyone's got a number. What number would you be needing to take? And I'll tell you, there's no right or wrong answer. There's no foolish answer. Everybody's going to have a different number. And I know for myself, I'm usually, if I did some soul searching, I'm usually around 170 to 180 on any given day. I asked my fiance, she's at like 5,000. Like I said, nothing's wrong. Very loss averse. Feels losses way more than feeling gains. Now, at 170, basically that means my loss aversion coefficient is 1.7 times. Is 1.7. I feel losses 1.7 times more than I feel my gains. The average is 225. 225. Okay, so that means the average loss aversion coefficient is 2.25, and that's what we use a lot in our experimental research for behavioral finance, but that's about the average. And even in my college classes, average is around 225, even for this $100 bet. Now, this doesn't, in experiments, in the labs, in real life, whether it's 100 or 1,000 or 10,000, believe it or not, it actually doesn't change very much people's loss aversion coefficient. So it doesn't change. It's not very flexible. If you feel a certain way about losing $100, you're going to feel the similar way about losing 1,000 or 10,000. So we're going to talk a little bit more about this in a future chapter or lecture. This is called prospect theory, and we have to think about gains and losses in different ways. And but first, we have that violation number 1, and that's in loss aversion. So next, in the next episode, we're going to take a look at a couple of more violations and really set up this behavioral finance, what we're actually doing here. And then we're going to talk about risk aversion at a little bit deeper level. So I'm going to ask you in conclusion here, based on what we know, are you still fully rational? Are you a fully rational individual? Or, because fully rational people, they're going to take $101 all day long, and they're going to take that 10,000, or they're going to play the game all day long. So are you fully rational? I know I'm not, but part of this fun of teaching this is to make us aware, so then we actually understand it and can make our own best decisions with our money. So with that, I am going to ask if you have any questions, or if you want to connect, please leave a comment below. I'd love to hear from you, and you can reach out to me and send me a message on bryanfoltice.com. You can find me on Instagram as well. See what's going on in this suburban dad life of mine. And if you would be willing to subscribe to my channel, we've got a lot more content to go over, and would love to have you along. Here to help. I'm here to teach you, and I'm here to help give you some insights into the world of behavioral finance. So love to hear from you. If not, have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.